Hello friends, in this video we will see Angular 2 template. Now templates lay out a UI fragment defining a view for our application. It is created with HTML. We can include directives and bindings in the template HTML. There are two ways by which you can define template. First way is the inline template. Second way is the linked template. I will start with the inline template. Now in the video for component we have defined a single line inline template, if you remember. So it looks like this. So we can define inline template in two ways, either using single quotes or using double quotes. So the image on the left side, it's basically a single line template, and image on the right hand side is basically multi-line template. The first screenshot shows single line template. The single or double quotes are used to define single line templates. We can define multi-line templates using single or double quotes and using addition operator as shown in the second screenshot. But it becomes hard to read when HTML is large. So it is pretty obvious that if the HTML is quite large, so it is very difficult to maintain and difficult to read HTML in that way. So there's another way which overcomes this disadvantage, and that way is using backticks. So the multi-line template can be defined using ES 2015 backticks. The backticks allow to define HTML in multiple lines, keeping it readable and easy to understand and even easy to maintain. So this is the screenshot which uses backticks to define the HTML. Now you can see, if you compare it with the previous screenshot of multi-line template, now this one with the backticks looks more readable and easy to understand. So these are the two ways. Either you can use single or double quotes, or you can use backticks for defining single line or multi-line inline templates. Now we go to the advantages of having inline template. So the template is directly defined in the component. The HTML and the code supporting the HTML both are in the same file, and this helps in matching the data bindings used in the template with the class properties. So you have template definition and you have the property definition itself in the same file, in the same class file. So in that case you can basically compare the bindings specified in the HTML and the class properties. And there are disadvantages as well. So the template defined as string do not support IntelliSense, cannot be formatted automatically, and will not support syntax checking. This issue becomes more severe as HTML grows in the template. Now it is quite obvious that you are defining a template as a string format, so there will be no support for IntelliSense, and it cannot be formatted automatically and will not support syntax checking. So these issues are small if your template is small, but if your template grows in size, if the HTML is very large, then it becomes a severe problem. So to solve that problem, we have linked templates. So in scenario dealing with large HTML, it is better to define a linked template. The template HTML will be defined in separate HTML file, and this file will be linked to component using template URL property. So basically the HTML will be in a separate file, and that will be HTML file. So that HTML file will be supporting the IntelliSense syntax checking and also formatting, and you just have to refer the link of that file into template URL property. So the component will render the HTML from that file. The HTML in the rendered file will be rendered when the my app directive is used in the HTML. This way the HTML is separated from the file and can be reused for multiple components. That is one more advantage. And changes made to the linked file will not have effect on component class. So whatever changes you make in the HTML file, it has no impact to the component class. So basically it is kind of a loosely coupling. So this is the form we are going to create. We are going to design the simple form using linked template, and we will create a new component to render this form. This template will be used with app module, and we have used Bootstrap and CSS for form design. So let's go to our application. So I have the basic structure where index.html, Bootstrap the main.js called the app module calls the app component. So everything is present here, and in the content folder I'm using Bootstrap, so that is being referred on index.html file. So here I have referenced the bootstrap.css, and so let me run the application and we will see what the application have to show on the UI. I think it will show a simple message add player. So currently if I go to my component class, that is the main component or app component, it has code to display page title. So the page title is set to default value add player. Now notice this is a single line inline template. Now if I want to have multi-line template, so what I have to do, so there are two options. Either you can use addition operator, so I can add a plus sign and I can add one more element. Suppose I add a paragraph saying this is para, and if I refresh the page, so you can see you can render any amount or any number of tags or HTML using this plus operator. So by this way you can define multi-line HTML, but as discussed, this is not, more readable. This is not readable as compared to backticks. So we can even use backticks. For using backticks, let me remove this code. So you have to add backtick here and at the initial of the template. So by this way you can define your HTML. Now your HTML is more readable without the plus sign, and as the HTML grows it will become easy to understand. So this basically, the backticks cover the disadvantage given by the single quotes or double quotes, and this is all about the inline templates. Now we are going to use the linked template. For that, let's have a inline template here. So I'm going to create one HTML file and I'm going to name it as player add player dot HTML, and for now let's render this form which we are going to create. So notice I'm using the Bootstrap classes here to design these forms, and this form has few fields, so it is basically static HTML we are using. Now I'm going to link this HTML file to my template, so let's do that. So I have to remove this property entirely and I will specify template URL, and I have to refer that file. So that file is present in app slash, and the name of the file is addplayer.html. Okay, now if I refresh my page, so you can see the form being rendered. So this way you can use linked template where the HTML is in the separate file and you just have to specify the URL of that file in the component template URL property. So by this way the HTML is separate, and you can, if I open this file, HTML file, you can do syntax checking, you can format this HTML, and it is very easy to read also. So this way linked template is pretty much easy and pretty much useful when you have large HTML to display using component. Now what we are going to do is basically, let's go to our initial setup, that is inline template, and we are going to get rid of this paragraph, and we are going to have this addplayer.html in a separate module. So we have app module. Inside this application folder, we are going to create one more folder. Now let me stop my application. And so what basically we are going to do is, for this HTML page I am going to create a component, and we are going to link that HTML page in that component, and that component directive we are going to use here. So just wait and watch. So let me add one folder here, and I'm going to name this folder as player. I'll move this addplayer.html here. Okay, and to this player we are going to add one component to support this HTML file. So let's add a component. So I'll add a TypeScript file. The name of my component is player.add component.html. Okay, now it will have a class export class. I want this class to be imported by other components or modules, and name will be add player. I don't have any properties inside this, and let me import component from angular/core, and this component will act as a decorator. So as it is a function, I have to use parentheses, and I'm going to pass object, and I'm going to set the selector as my player. So this will be the directive name, and template URL I'm going to define. So my template URL will be app/player/addPlayer.html. Okay, so now our component is ready with the linked template, that is addPlayer.html. Now what I'm going to do is, now as this component is a directive, we can use this component as a directive. I'm going to create a tag or an element of this directive name in the app component. So what I'm going to do is, basically here I'm going to specify this directive, so that when this directive is encountered by the Angular, it tries to load this component. So let's try that. So let me refresh my page. Okay, I have to run the application, sorry for that. So now our application is running and there's nothing displayed, so there must be an error. So I'm expecting one error, and we will be rectifying that. So it is basically says that if my player is a web component, then add custom element schema to the ng model schema of this component to suppress this message. Now this message comes because we are using this component or component directive in app component, but we are not importing this component in the app module. So app module doesn't know what to initialize. So for that we have to go to app module. So basically that player component is not in the scope of this app module. So we have to import that add player component from /player/player.component. Okay, then this add player we have to specify in the declarations, so that this Angular module will know what to import and what to initialize. So now if you refresh your page, you can see now the form has been rendered along with the inline template of app module component and the link template of our player component. So this is how you can even use the component as directive in the app component, but you have to make sure that you have to import this component so that your module knows this component has to be imported and used in this module and used in this app component. So basically you are registering it into the scope of the app module. So by this way you can use inline or linked template, and even you can create directives and use it in app modules or different components. So we are done with our video, and